Imagine earning a $100,000 salary. Sounds like living the dream, right? Money with wings. But here's the catch. $100K in the USA doesn't stretch the same way it does in the UK or Canada. Your rent, groceries, taxes, and even coffee costs can change dramatically depending on where you live. In today's video, we're breaking down exactly what a $100,000 salary means in 2025, comparing the USA, UK, and Canada, so you'll know which country gives you the best bang for your buck. Stay with me till the end, because you might be surprised where $100,000 makes you feel rich and where it barely keeps you comfortable. But before we dive deep, let's set the stage. What does $100,000 mean in simple terms? Globally, it puts you well above the average worker. But when you factor in taxes, cost of living, housing prices, healthcare, and lifestyle expenses, the story changes drastically. So, let's kick things off by looking at the USA, a country often seen as a land of opportunity. How far does $100,000 actually go in 2025? Let's start with the United States, the classic dream destination for many. On paper, $100,000 is a great salary. But here's the reality in 2025. First up, taxes. Depending on the state, you could be giving away 20 to 35% of your salary. In high-tax states like California or New York, you might take home only around $65,000 after federal, state, and local taxes. But in tax-friendly states like Texas or Florida, your take-home could be closer to $75,000. That's already a big difference based just on where you live. Now let's talk about housing. Rent is usually your biggest expense. In New York City, the average one-bedroom apartment costs around $3,500 per month. That's $42,000 a year, nearly half your salary gone just on rent. Compare that to cities like Dallas or Houston, where a similar apartment might be only $1,500 per month, saving you almost $24,000 a year. So, the city you choose literally decides whether $100,000 feels like upper middle class or just average. Then come everyday expenses. Groceries for a family of two average around $600 to $800 per month. Healthcare can cost thousands per year if your employer doesn't cover insurance. Dining out? Expect $60 to $80 for a simple dinner for two in major cities. So even though $100,000 sounds huge in places like New York, LA, or San Francisco, it barely stretches after taxes and rent. In smaller cities, though, you can live quite comfortably, owning a car, saving money, and enjoying a good lifestyle. So, in the USA, a $100,000 salary can mean very different things depending on where you live. But how does that compare to the United Kingdom? Let's cross the Atlantic and see if the UK gives you more value or even less. Now, let's cross over to the United Kingdom. At first, $100,000 sounds massive in the UK too. But remember, we have to translate it into pounds sterling. At today's rates, that's around £78,000 per year. Sounds solid, right? Well, here's the catch. The UK tax system is very different from the US. In the UK, income tax and national insurance together can take around 35 to 40% of your earnings. So from £78,000, you may only take home around £48,000 to £50,000 after taxes. That's roughly $62,000 in your pocket. Already a lot less in the U.S. Now on to housing. London is notoriously expensive. The average one-bedroom apartment in central London? Around £2,200 per month, or nearly £26,000 per year. That's more than half of your take-home gone, just on rent. But if you live outside London, say in Manchester or Birmingham, the same apartment might be only £1,000 to £1,200 per month, giving you a lot more breathing room. What about everyday living costs? Groceries for a family average £300 to £400 per month, cheaper than the U.S. Healthcare is a big plus. Thanks to the NHS, most basic care is free, though private insurance for faster service can add extra costs. Dining out? Expect £50 to £70 for two people in London, a little cheaper outside major cities. So while taxes are higher, you do save money on healthcare compared that already feels bigger than in the UK or US. But here's where taxes step in. In Canada, you'll be paying federal tax plus provincial tax, depending on where you live. On average, someone earning 135,000 Canadian dollars pays about 35 to 38% in taxes. So from that $135,000, your take-home drops to around 85,000 Canadian dollars, or roughly 63,000 US dollars. Pretty close to the UK take-home, but with some differences. Next, let's look at housing. In Toronto or Vancouver, rent is sky high. A one-bedroom apartment downtown costs around 2,500 Canadian dollars per month. That's nearly 30,000 Canadian dollars a year. But if you choose cities like Calgary, Ottawa, or Halifax, you could pay only $1,400 to $1,800 CAD per month. That's almost half the price. What about everyday expenses? Groceries for a family average around $800 to $1,000 CAD per month, more than in the UK, and similar to the US. So, we've seen the breakdown in the USA, UK, and Canada. But the big question remains. Where does $100,000 give you the best lifestyle in 2025? Let's line them up side by side. In the USA, your $100,000 turns into about $70,000 after taxes. Housing and healthcare can be expensive, but if you're in an affordable city, you'll save a lot more compared to London or Toronto. The downside? Healthcare costs can wipe you out if you're not careful. In the UK, $100,000 becomes about £60,000 take-home. Rent in London eats half your income, but free healthcare and strong public transport keep you from overspending elsewhere. Lifestyle depends on where you live. London is fast-paced and expensive, while smaller cities give you more comfort for less. In Canada, 100,000 US dollars or 135,000 Canadian dollars becomes about 85,000 Canadian dollars after taxes. Housing varies a lot. Toronto and Vancouver can crush your budget, but Calgary or Ottawa make life much easier. Free healthcare is a big plus, but groceries and eating out are still pricey. Let's put it in perspective. Take-home salary after taxes USA is almost equal to $70,000. UK is almost equal to $61,000. Canada is almost equal to 63,000 US dollars equivalent. Housing, most expensive in London and Vancouver/Toronto. Cheaper in mid-sized US cities and Canadian cities like Calgary. Healthcare, free in UK and Canada, expensive in USA. Lifestyle flexibility. USA offers more disposable income if you avoid expensive health care. UK offers stability and safety nets. Canada balances both but struggles with housing in big cities. So who wins? The truth is, it depends on your priorities. If you want the highest savings and are okay with private healthcare costs, USA wins. If you value security and healthcare coverage, UK wins. If you want a mix of both worlds with beautiful nature and healthcare benefits, Canada wins. In the end, $100,000 can mean three completely different lifestyles depending on where you choose to live. What about you? If you had a $100,000 salary today, where would you want to live? USA, UK, or Canada? Comment your choice below. And don't forget to subscribe because in the next video, we'll compare $50,000 in these three countries. You'll be surprised how different the picture looks.